You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
When the Master's life is no longer powered by polarity, his resources must come from fearlessly exploring the new. May each day be filled with discoveries waiting to reveal themselves to those on a pilgrimage of self-discovery. And that's a beautiful piece of wisdom from the mystic and great seer Almin. Welcome to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. It is Thursday, the 27th of April, and you are on a public holiday broadcast here in South Africa. We are in Freedom Day. It's great to have everybody with us, and thank you very much for joining us. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's becoming a beautiful time of blossoms and spring, whereas for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, we are all wanting to wrap up and stay in bed. Absolutely incredible as autumn has passed and winter is arriving pretty fast for many of us. Today we're going to be discussing the aspects of the pilgrimage of self-discovery and the law of existence. And the law of existence has been fascinating me this week. I've been looking around. I've been trying to find some information to discuss it. I've been sharing amongst everybody. And if you look at some of the rune prediction for last week from Almin, or really from Ella that she did put together, she spoke about the law of existence there. And that has been sitting with me this whole week. So tonight I'd like to be discussing all about that. But just do you remember last week's show, we spoke a little bit about the life and death spheres of the Merkaba. And one of the thoughts that I've got going on in terms of what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing within myself is we seem to be in a time of life or death, it seems. Are we in the death throes of the old as the new begins to manifest? We're also going to talk a little bit about the chaos and order. We're going to talk about the prediction for this week. We're going to be bringing in the translation of the scroll of chaos and order. But first of all, let's listen to the mystic and seer Almin as she takes us into aspects of how we break free from illusion and the changes that are needed within.
The illusion that we're trying to break free from pertains to everything that has made us believe one thing to be true when it is not. And for us to believe that this is the only, for those of you that have watched Star Trek, that's really helpful. Then you know about the holodeck programs. Right. There are basically 32 holodeck programs available to man. This is only one of them. And so, again, this is bondage to the warrior. They want to be able to move to the others. And you get there when you've done your recapitulation, which we'll go into after lunch. Dreaming, recapitulation, these are things we'll look at after lunch. You go there when you've done your work, you've silenced the dialogue, and now you can move and maintain the move at will. My sister, it may and it may not be. Here is the thing. Oftentimes, by wondering why is that happening, and a conscious being cannot help but wonder it, but it removes from us the responsibility of change within. And if we can change within, we will raise the consciousness of the planet, and AIDS might stop. Let me tell you what removed the plague of the French Revolution. And, okay, the aristocrats had it coming. My family just left, fortunately, but they had it coming, okay? But it was mindless slaughter. Okay, let me tell you what stemmed that tide. It was one man. I went and looked at it. It was one man that embraced his challenge. His whole family had been guillotined, his wife and 3 little kids. And he went to the guillotine last. They wanted him to watch everybody die first. So he went to the guillotine last, a couple of days later, so he could live with some grief. And when he went, he said, "Thank you, God, that I can offer my life as an offering to stem this tide of madness." His vision was so high. Everybody else was feeling victimized. His vision saw this as a privilege, that he could stand for refinement within humankind. As an offering to stem the tide of madness, he stood forth like he was going to church. It changed it. So, my sister, if you focus there, you will sink with grief. If you focus here, it takes more courage, You might change it, but without wanting to.
Awakening from the dream, Almin tells us that scientists have mapped out 4 stages of sleep, identifying them by the rapid eye movement of the sleeper. They are identified as REM or REM stages 1, 2, 3, and 4. The dream of the one life. The infinite being has gone through similar stages. The deepest levels of sleep are known as the fall, those stages in which the infinite being forgot that it was just a dream, thinking the unreal to be real. Thus, illusion was conceived. It was in the deep stages of the dream that the great diversity of individuated life forms was created. As the infinite awakened to some extent into the more shallow dream states, the dream then became a lucid dream, a state in which the dreamer remembers that it is just a dream. Seeking to bring the creations out of the dream into that which is real became a heightened goal, and the refinement of life through the formation of the laws of reality, called the Book of Life, began in earnest. The 4 dream stages through which life developed were defined by vast frequency bands, and we can read more about this in Journey to the Heart of God. Like the stages of growth a human child develops through, they exhibited certain characteristics. And the first one, very important for us all to look at, is dependency, like that of the infant upon his mother. And the second is codependency, like a toddler or one in early childhood who wants the dependency of support whilst asserting independence. And the third is independence, where the adolescent exhibits this trait and is willing to oppose parents in order to gain it. And the next final stage of this REM stages that's being discussed here is called interdependency. Adulthood of an emotionally healthy child exhibits unity within diversity. Scientists have found that the only time the left and right brain work together in perfect interdependent harmony is in the shallow REM state right before awakening. The Tree of Life, the Mayan Tzolk'ins or I Ching, have depicted these 4 stages of the development of individuated life. In October 2008, the cosmic life forms for the first time exited the states of dreaming and entered the additional 3 stages never before encountered by cosmic life, which is the stages of being half awake. The horizontal axis of the Tree of Life, also known as the additional 3 directions. For the first time, individuated life has been reformed from that which has had no beginning, incorruptible, holy matter. Within the realness of the infinite's being, we have become eternal and refined. The cosmic ascension, the awakening from the transience of the dream, is complete. In this holy realm in which we dwell, all resources are ours, all knowledge and wisdom, all love and light. These are inherent part of the infinite's body from which we are formed. There is no more linear growth of striving to become anything. In ceasing to oppose life, in full surrender to the moment, we may claim our full inheritance as the children of the infinite, pristine, innocent, and reborn. So I'm bringing this up just to share with you that for me there was a huge shift this particular week during the sleeping dream time, where I was in so many different realities, both past, both present, both future. And I couldn't figure out within that dream state which was real and which was not. I didn't know what was the future. I didn't know what was the past. I didn't know what was the present. All I was aware of was that these multiple realities were all existing and being experienced at one go. And boy, was that incredibly confusing. I know a lot of our listeners today will be understanding a lot of this because we talk. And I appreciate everybody's input and sharing. And again, I'm just repeating that the absolute blessing for me is just to be in the middle of everyone, is that they share with me all of these incredible experiences. And so I get to share it with everybody else as well, in terms of being able to put it together and just produce it as one show, so to say, and just discuss it as we're going along there. But it has completely changed me this week. Nico came in today and he said he feels completely misplaced. He feels as if what he was is no longer there, and yet he doesn't know what he is becoming, and yet he has to work with what is. And I think that's a perfect description of where we all at. So it means so much things are happening for many of us. And we, here on Radio Belvaspata South Africa, we'd love to hear about it. So please send in your comments here, either live today, if you're listening live, or if it's on podcast form. We'd love to hear from you either on our Facebook page or on our Messenger page or by email via our website. There's plenty of ways of connecting with us. And of course, if you're on our local WhatsApp support group for the Light family, share away. We've had some very, very deep processes and experiencing coming out of it. So what we have to also remember is that Belvaspata, as a healing modality called healing of the heart, is a sacred modality that heals with light and frequency, both power and perception. The healing method is a gift from the infinite to the cosmic races to accommodate the changing laws of physics that took place as all life ascended into a new level of existence in August 2006. The language used is a very high cosmic language used by the Mother or Infinite Being and angels alike. The use of Belvaspata heals as the frequencies of the sacred sigils are drawn to where they are most needed, and takes into consideration the changes that occurred in August 2006 up into 2008, as we were discussing earlier. And these altered the laws that govern all existence. These laws changed as the frequencies within the cosmos raised us out of a cycle of existence in which polarity was the primary causation for cosmic movement. We had now entered a more elevated cycle of existence in which resonance became the basic moving force. Very interesting process going along there. So we need to look at all of these particular definitions, at these processes, and understand that the things that are going on within us and, of course, external to our physical process, these are all merging together. And as the axis merges together of the horizontal and the vertical, as the directions merge together, we neither have inner or outer space any longer within us. And this show today is really just dedicated to us examining it, to discuss it a little bit more and begin to work with some of these aspects. And then perhaps just to spend a few minutes together being able to just allow ourselves to be where we're at without giving it an identity on any particular level. But boy, oh boy, we certainly cannot ignore what is going on. It is absolutely incredible a lot of the time with these particular processes. So Almeen tells us, and this is part of what we need to really look at all the time. The question is, what is transcendence? Transcendence elevates existence to a more evolved higher reality. It is achieved by withdrawing energy and focus from a specific reality and cutting the ties that bind. This dissolves a reality, our belief systems and sentiments of attachments kept in place, whilst revealing the more advanced reality that lies beyond its appearances. We awaken from illusion's dream. And there earlier we were listening to the Seer Almina. She gave us some brief information around the aspects of breaking free from illusion and the changes that are needed within in order to stem the tides of madness. But let's focus on that and let's just face that a little bit, because we have so many tools available that the Seer Almeen has given us through all her teachings, and including Belvaspata, including the runes and the sacred runes, which we work with every single week here on the show. But literally, there are times where we don't realize we have those tools, or we just don't know how to put them into place. Or at times we just do not care. That is the actual process that sometimes I find myself going in there. And when I say I do not care, it is not in a childish way. It is just that oh well, whatever, let's just get on with this and just surrender to that particular moment. I must say that, we opened up with the aspect of what a pilgrimage of self-discovery is, and we spoke about Almeen there, and she says that our resources must come from fearlessly exploring the new. And I'm really into that lately. That's been my experience. The last few shows we've been discussing about the creativity that is coming up for many of us, and that's all we want to focus on. Everything that belongs to the old ways, the old paradigms, the old realities of belief are all going out the window. And they are causing a major roller coaster of issues and situations as we're going along. So last week on the radio show, we also spoke about the translation of the scrolls of chaos and order. And we spoke about chaos last week, but we did say we're not in chaos at that particular time. I feel that we being humanity, many of us have gone through all of that particular aspect, that we have literally gone through a state of massive chaos, and now we're in a state of adjusting to the new resonance, the new frequency that is adapting. And that is really taking some work. Many of us are flat out a lot of the time. We're getting up, we're going to bed, just doing what we can do, and then going to go rest. The amount of downtime and sleep, physical sleep that is needed, seems to be absolutely immense. We need to honor this and find a way to deal with our day-to-day processes, not just in a state of survival, but in a state where we realize we are creating a new law of existence through a pilgrimage of self-discovery. But we're going to talk a little bit about the translation of the scrolls of chaos and order, because there are specific laws there that come into place, and we thought these may assist us in terms of providing just a little bit more for us to be able to work with and get us a little bit more enthusiastic and passionate about everything that unfolds for us day to day. So the laws that we have to work with are also things like the law of compensation, the law of generosity. There are many laws that Almeen has taught about that are in the teachings over the years. But let's just look at this translation of the scrolls of chaos and order, because Almeen translated this Atlantean information 2011, I think, is the dates that we have over here. So she talks about the tyranny of the preferred pole, the scroll of order and chaos, insight number 1. And here we go. Whenever we value one pole more than another, it becomes tyrannical. Order is revered and chaos is shunned. Fascinating insight there. The scroll of order and chaos, number 2, is called the constructs of the mind. And the description of that is that the constructs of the mind, time, space, reason and intelligence are the result of creating tools to bolster and strengthen order in its dominance. The scroll of order and chaos, bringing the old and static into the present. I'm repeating that, bringing the old and the static into the present. Order brings the old and the static into the present. Chaos brings change. When order destructures to a higher order, its destructuring can be called chaotic. The next scroll of order and chaos is fear that is described as chaos. The description, the lack of confidence in anything mind that cannot define, control, or grasp, creates fear and is described as chaos. The next scroll of order and chaos, all that is extraordinary comes from chaos. The tyranny of order, which is a desire for structure, versus chaos, which is flow that destructures order, has resulted in the dominance of the mind over the heart. Yesterday's values, wisdom, and accomplishments are stale today. Yet that is the nurturing order wishes to feed us. All that is extraordinary comes from chaos, not order. This next scroll of order and chaos, number 7, says what a higher order is, and is described as a higher order simply implies that additional insights made it impossible for mind to continue harboring old belief systems. The scroll of order and chaos, number 8, is called the gift of chaos, and is detailed that chaos's gift is effortless knowing, due to the fact that mind could no longer function under overwhelming condition. Effortless knowing requires a quiet and surrendered mind. So very interesting is that just earlier this week, the 22nd of April, we had Earth Day. And Almeen gave us a beautiful, joyous blessing there. And she says, Happy Earth Day wishes to our Global Light family. May the love, praise and gratitude we hold for our magnificent home, Mother Earth, infinitely bless her. Love, Almeen. But then she adds the principle of high magic number 152. She says, do not define yourself by what you've been or what you've done. Define yourself by what you're becoming. As you evolve, you will shed the need to define yourself at all. And I think that explains a huge amount of process that we all need to look at for ourselves and really begin to look at the depth of these particular processes. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to an audio by the Seer Almeen as she discusses the path to freedom, all about God consciousness and what we can expect through all of that.
You know, in God consciousness, in the seer, there are 3 sub-stages. And, you know, Toltecs mostly don't talk about this. I think Hindus talks about the first 2. Buddhists, they don't go to the 3rd. But we are the Toltecs, and we go beyond the 3rd. So, first is the emptiness, complete and utter emptiness. If you fight it because you think something's wrong with you, because you don't even feel anything, right? Well, you're feeling cosmic emotions, which is the intent of the infinite to know itself, desire to pull its unknown pieces back and reclaim them into the light. You're feeling such vast things that your head can't interpret it. So you feel like you're emptied out. If you resist it, according to Buddhist traditions, it takes 11.5 years to move automatically into the stage of nirvana or fullness. If you don't resist it, in my case, it took a year. And suddenly I realized, it isn't that I'm no thing, it's that I'm all things. And I'm starting to feel everything move through me, and the result of it was incredible bliss. And bliss is like a frequency in the cell. It's when we're vibrating at the frequency of perfect love. And what it felt like was when they gave me morphine in the hospital when I had my middle child. That's what it feels like. It is the largest temptation known to man. Because all you want to do is withdraw from life and be in the bliss. It is such an effort to speak. The walking, and I was staggering around. I try and give lectures. If you listen to Journey into the Heart of God, level 1, where I was in this absolute emptiness, I was drenching their microphone from the effort to make my mouth move and to say the unspeakable that I was seeing into words. You just want to be left alone and go somewhere, because another thing has now happened. You've become extremely vulnerable. Your heart is wide open. You have zero judgment. You can see the value of people's folly as well as the value of their contribution. And then all of a sudden, everything is permissible for you in terms of what people do to you. You have no boundaries. Because you've also begun to understand that everything is perfect. You just see the perfection. So if somebody comes up and slaps you in the face, you can see the perfection of it. Everybody else is learning something in the room. This is what the bigger picture is. This is what this person slapping me is going to learn. So I guess I should let it happen. Borders go wide open. Your love is pouring out for all beings, and you're in a reasonably vulnerable place. Needless to say, people are needy and cling to this. Okay, and they're angry when you don't fulfill their needs and the traumas. And so most of these beings retreat into their bliss, and they sit somewhere in bliss. And absolutely they contribute vastly to the planet. I did this for about a year. It's true, I did my talks here and there, but I tell you what, because I had a little kid and I had to also support her, okay? And I had people that were answering phones and stuff that I had to generate an income. If I didn't have that, would I have gone there? Well, after a year of it, first of all, I knew I hadn't grown. I was growing hardly at all, while in the emptiness and while in the fullness. Then I started to realize that I needed, because see, I'm in this vastness, I can just turn my perspective and I can see what's going on. And then I realized that we grow through friction, which is why Earth is called the place of the school of the gods. Because we can, in a few short years here, because of how much density there is, achieve so much. So I'm looking and I'm seeing myself, there's no friction because I just allow. I'm not brushing against life. And so I'm not growing. And then the second thing is I kept hearing there is no destination. There's only the journey, meaning you've got to push on. There's another stage beyond this. And so I overcame the largest temptation known to man. It is really only then that you can call yourself a Nagual.
And there we really got it as it is, even though that audio is a few years old. Is that not so spot on for us to listen to? There, the Seer Almin telling us all about the processes of becoming a God being, literally understanding God consciousness and the symptoms that are going along with it. We are certainly going through a massive shift at this moment in time. We'd love to hear from you what that is. And again, feel free to let us know. So, Almin was talking there about living in the state of vastness, about the state of being in emptiness and fullness at once, but that we have to understand that we are growing through friction. We are in the school of the gods, absolutely incredible, learning how this God consciousness works, learning how to apply it in our lives, learning how to sit with the process and just surrender to it without actually giving up. We are all learning that the definition of surrender is completely different to what it used to be. So Almin also tells us about becoming a contradiction. She talks about the recent webinars and the healings, the universal healings that have been going on about the golden light of the third stage of resurrection that has been going on in this particular year. 4 webinars that have been absolutely incredible to work with. And I know some of our South African family have been enjoying that along with us. That has been just incredibly deep to be able to understand how we dissolve density, what the gifts are and what the experiences are. And my hat goes off to each one of you in tribute to what you are all holding at this particular time, because it is just so deep, that process that is going on. So, becoming a contradiction, Almin discusses the metaphysics of questions and answers. She talks specifically there about the functions of demons as embodying chaos and the unanswered questions we have in life and the chaos that spills into our world. There are 3 stages of resurrection in which we move beyond the duality of body and soul, of life and death, of awake and dream, of the masculine and feminine, represent the steps through which the body learns to supersede matter, becoming made of brilliant white light that contains all knowledge of individuation. That is, all answers to all possible questions. This is the true meaning of the Akashic records, where one contains all that is and all that ever will be. Really, really interesting, deep insight there. But until then, the increase in insanity is a kind of fallout that can arise when a world entrenched in mind becomes affected by the few entering into the resurrection. Their minds, says Almins, becomes befuddled by becoming a contradiction and are not equipped to bridge the gap of knowledge between opposite poles, between the questions and the answers. The key to bridge this gap is with the golden light of glad expectations, which is the 3rd stage of resurrection, removing the need for creatures that embody chaos. So what I'm doing at this moment in time, I'm really looking into the aspects of awakening from the dream that we spoke about earlier and the 4 dream stages, along with the 3 stages of resurrection, and seeing how we can actually put them into synchronized aspects. In other words, we spoke about the aspect of dependency being like that of the infinite upon his mother. And then the 3rd stage of resurrection and the colors of the light that went with all of that, which, if you are following Almin, you will have a deep understanding of all of that. And then I'm looking at this aspect of codependency, which is like a toddler or one in early childhood who wants the dependency of support, whilst also asserting the independence with the second level of resurrection. And then I'm looking at the state of independency, where the adolescent exhibits this trait and is willing to oppose parents in order to gain it. And then that's the third stage of resurrection. And the third stage of resurrection is the golden light of glad expectations. So now what we do is when we add all of those together, then what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a state, or an alchemical equation results in a state of being called interdependence. And I'm just going to ask a question and throw it out there like that. Who of you are in one of the earlier states of being on some level other than can identify where you are trying to be dependent on something else, someone else, on some other issue, on some belief system? Maybe there's an expectation there that is, wanting someone to do things for you, etc., etc. How many of you are in a codependent state at this moment in time? How many of you are asserting your own independency and perhaps going on and saying, well, this is at the cost of all others, this is what I'm doing, I don't need anybody else? I find myself in that state sometimes where, when somebody's not doing something around me or whatever, I'll go, well, I'll just do it myself. And then just having to work through it. But these are all states of suffering. They all belong to the old programs and the old particular processes along the way. But then, of course, we have to result in the state of interdependency, where this is the adulthood of an emotionally healthy adult and one who exhibits unity within all diversity, working for the common good of everything and everybody else. I must say, Nick and I are looking at some big projects that we're working here within the performing arts field, and it's fascinating that what we are thinking about, creating, what we are bringing into being, what we're discussing with other people are all states of being interdependent, working with others for the common good of a lot of other things, where one does not have to be better than the other, one does not have to do more than the other, we're just simply using our skill sets. So that has become a very, very deep insight as to what we are going to be doing and how we're going to be working through all of that. Yeah. Well, on the other side of our small little ad break for Belvaspata, we'll be chatting again. In the meantime, let's look at those aspects within ourselves and see if we are stuck in dependency, codependency, or a state of independency.
Team Belvaspata Healing South Africa facilitates one-on-one, group or distant healings utilizing a cutting-edge angelic healing modality that harmonizes and balances using a combined process of light and frequency. This cosmic healing modality has various protocols available that will assist in the transformation, transmutation and transfiguration of many areas of life. Visit our website on www.belvaspata.co.za for complete information, and also link to us on Facebook under our name, Team Belvaspata Healing South Africa. You may also send an email to belvaspata@anua.co.za. You can join our WhatsApp discussion group for daily posts and trending information and updates from Almeen, the Seer and Mystic. Message us via either Facebook, email, or on the station's commentary section. We will now return to the online chat show, hosted by Team Belvaspata South Africa and our guests for the day.
Thank you for staying with us. You're listening to Radio Belvaspata South Africa's episode for Thursday, the 27th of April, 2017. And I'm having a little giggle here because if you've really been listening to the show for the last little while, you know that I've been hopelessly getting all the dates mixed up. I've been giving you different months of different days. I don't know what is going on. But you know what? I've also learned that I'm okay with it. But lately I'm looking at the screen in front of me that Nico has got up holding, from outside the recording studio, and I'm looking at the date very carefully here, and I'm being able to work with that. But have you noticed that aspect within yourself? Because I'm going through these phases where I actually cannot speak. And I cannot speak fast because what happens is that my focus tapers off and I cannot finish my sentences. And if I'm going too fast, then my words are slurring. I'm very blurred in my mind. Absolutely incredible watching it all. So if you're listening to this show and you are, outside of the teachings of the Seer Almin, please don't worry about it. We're not going on about any mental illness that each one of us are all experiencing. We're just simply saying is that the insanity of the world is passing through us, that spiritually and cosmically we are all learning as humankind to merge the masculine and feminine aspects. That is without, that is within. We are learning to merge all of these realities, and we are learning that there is no such thing as separation. And of course, who would this all experience and work through would be you and me and everybody else, because we are all incredibly authentic expressions of the infinite being who is now in full awareness and full states of creation. More teachings on all of that as we're going along. But do you understand what we were saying by becoming a contradiction? Because I feel that life is an absolute contradiction as we're going through all of these particular reality shifts. And there is not such thing as a truth any longer. The truth is really what we are experiencing at this moment in time. And it will only be as truthful as the identity or the name that we give it or the definition that we give it. Please understand that this is a massive phase of transcendence that we are going through. And as we evolve into a much higher evolved state of being, well, the question may come up for you, well, not very evolved at this moment in time. But please be aware that we are releasing all the old processes. We are releasing that which no longer supports us and which really has no longer precedence or, shall I say, need. The programs need to be gone along the way. Earlier we were going through the translations of the Scroll of Chaos and Order. If you're on our local WhatsApp group, we've sent you a link to that right now. And thank you everyone for joining us who's just joined us from our Instagram link that has gone up as we're going along the way. Right, so Almin talks about all of these particular processes going on, and I'm fascinated that it's not just a one-off situation, that we can refer back to some of the old posts and wisdoms and audio classes that she's given to us and which exist, on the internet. And it's our beautiful privilege to be able to take them and work with them together. So what would you rather go for, emptiness or fullness? Would you rather grow through friction, or would you rather just let things be as they are? These are all questions that are coming up for many of us, and thank you for sharing that. In the meantime, Almin reminds us of the symptoms that are coming up for the coming time map. And this was done earlier this year, January and February. But listen to the information again with fresh ears, and she gives us some additional direction in terms of that.
My dear Light family, there have been several messages from my beloved family members around the world that have indicated that, like those close to me, and actually myself, some of us have experienced, or at least all of us may be experiencing to some degree, the following symptoms. Physical things that we cannot understand. Our eyes are not focusing well, or they're not seeing well for some reason or another. There's a dramatic decrease in vision. That is because things are happening to us that we are not seeing in the proper light. For instance, my balance is still not at 100%, and today I've been staggering quite a bit, and I felt so sad that it would be such a decrepit state of being. It felt as if I had somehow stepped backwards. But what I begun to realize is that by proxy, we are processing, getting rid of some of the old things that humanity has to process. Like one of the angel gods said to me, those who have a firm foundation, meaning those who are living their godhood, because the godhood is a whole other reality, are the ones that are asked to bear those unprocessed things that will enable us, when the new time map comes on the 8th of February, to form it at a higher level for all. Because if we don't process it, those things, those pains, depressions, feelings of hopelessness will have to be processed and be written in as part of the time map. Many of you have felt depression. You have felt strange sensations in your body. For instance, the angel God told me I am not seeing clearly. Yes, injury to the cerebellum causes vertigo. But the reason that I am struggling with a lot of vertigo is because I am learning how to live inner and outer space at the same time, which is part of the resurrected life, and that will produce some vertigo. A lot of the other physical symptoms are either processing the old or learning how to function with the new. Our senses are changing, for instance. We are learning to see through our skin. We are learning to do many more things with our senses than we have in the past. When you are in a state of hopelessness and depression, on behalf of the many, please do not neglect to take the Spagyric homeopathic size stable available through our office, because you can take it 4 hours, every 4 hours, 20 to 25 drops, 20 if you're slight build, 25 if you're a heavier or a bigger or a taller person, and you can take it as much as 4 hours. Normally it's 3 times a day. But if you are having great feelings of overwhelm and hopelessness, then that is the solution. Have it on hand, like a first aid bottle. It isn't habit forming, it just stimulates the brain to produce its own serotonin. Beloved ones, we are in service to all life. That comes with the honor of you being the first creations that ever was formed. You are the elite and you are the nobility of the cosmos. You are immortal and incorruptible, but sometimes we take things into our body so that others may thrive and ourselves with a new, higher formed time map. My love to you always.
And there we were listening to the mystic Anne Sear Almeen as she described from her January audio class the symptoms of the coming time map. Last week we discussed the V aspect of the time map, how somebody had posed a question to Almeen and asked her literally about their life had been at a crossroads ever since a V point had formed within the daily time map that unfolds for all of us and many of us are working along with. And Almeen went into some of those processes and really taught us there that she too is going through a lot of those particular processes. And it's, if you look at it really on a non-surface level, isn't it incredible that we have come to a point in the ascension process, in the state of transcendence, where we actually are standing at the brink of forming everything for ourselves. And I think that's the point of today's show, is actually just offering you support and understanding that it is all about self-discovery and that the law of existence is something that we are writing into play day by day, bit by bit, moment by moment. For me, for Nico, really openly and transparently just saying it is moment by moment. The enormity of the things that we are working through and working with is absolutely incredible. It is just, the potential is absolutely a gift of everything that we've ever really worked together to combine. But at the same time, we fully realize that all we've got is this moment. And the moment we step out of that, then we're having to work on ourselves even more intensely. So for us, there's a time frame right now of us having to balance that out and look at where we're at and not pressurize ourselves too much, because it is laid out for us. But of course, if we were running on a linear process, we could actually put it into place. But the exponentiality of these particular experiences and the potential that we have is unfolding on a day-by-day level. So let's not limit that for each one of us. Let's take this time to be a pilgrimage of self-discovery, and let's create the law of existence for ourselves. What we're going to now is we've got another beautiful track by Almeen just in support of today's theme and working on it all. And it's just taken from the Journey to the Heart of God. And it's about abundance and understanding these goals or the benefits and processes and gifts that abundance brings us. And Almeen will give us that particular viewpoint. I'll be back on the other side of this. I'm looking forward to listening to it.
How can I have more abundance? Well, it would be better to ask, what am I doing? What are my world beliefs? What are my self-worth doubts? What do I have within me that stands in the way from the universal flow coming to me abundantly? That is what we have to ask. So, my brothers and sisters, let's now go and look at your lives. Okay, let's look at my life. Let us take pressing issues in our life and let us see how we can ask the right question. Yes, my darling. Yes. Okay, well, our being is our sustenance because our being is as vast as the cosmos. All things are within us. For that reason, our being is our sustenance. And how our being becomes our sustenance is through correct perception. What stands in the way of all things becoming at our disposal, shall we say, overcoming all things, even the last enemy, which is death, how all things become subject to us is the only blockages are our perceptions. So if we are not having abundance, you can be darn sure it is due to perception. Let me try and take the usual laws of abundance one level up, because most of you that are familiar with my tapes, I've given the laws of abundance many, many times on them. So let's try and... The first thing that you say is, I give that I may get. This is the physical law of abundance. But what this says higher up is that a mindset reproduces itself. In other words, what I believe occurs. If I constantly see myself as a victim, guess who's going to get the entity? Guess who's going to get the car that sideswipes them? Guess who's going to have these things happen? The one who sees themselves as something happening to them. It is in our perception what we attract. That is the basis of what is called faith. A mindset reproduces itself. It is the sixth law of creation. And so, that is the higher law of what I say, give that you might get. So, in the West, the law that the child gave us, because I gave this like a board meeting, that's the nurturer's law. And in the West, the law that the child gave us to get abundance is that we need to view abundance as love. So money as love. So if you're trying to overcharge me, what it says is that I love myself so little that I'm going to try and get every bit of love from you that I can. If I won't pay the higher price, it means I'm not going to give you one bit more love than I absolutely have to. All I have to ask is this worth it for me? If they're going to charge me $1 million for a bottle of water, I'm going to say, it's not worth it for me, because now I have to go out and manifest the $1 million, and it's just not worth it to me. I didn't want the water that badly. So all I have to say is it worth it to me to give that much hugs and kisses for the water? And if the water should cost $1, but they're charging $10, and I'm very thirsty, it's worth it to me. That's all, with no resentment whatsoever. And so the no resentment attitude is real important. If we pretend money is love, it starts to include all of creation. If we view money as a separate thing that I need to get so that you don't have, or I need to get so that I'm better than you, etc., etc., if we view it as belonging only to me, it doesn't flow. It stagnates. And so money viewed as love ripples on and includes all of creation, and all of a sudden, all of creation's abundance is ours. So there's a very high law attached to the game the kid wants to play of let's pretend money is love, because it's a law that will multiply. So in the North, there is this issue of extra work that the adult says, well, all I do is I sow so that I can reap. And that is fine, except that it is goal-oriented. So what it needs to change to become a higher law is I sow. I am, therefore I sow, right? I am sowing because that is what is in front of me. I sow because it's there. And I do it indiscriminately. I work because my work is to the glory of God. It doesn't matter what work I do. Problem with that one. And I've actually gummed up the works, okay, in the following way. I put together businesses. I brought in this beautiful man, and I brought various key people to the table to set up the businesses so that it can produce income, so that it can fund the children's centers, because the ball was in my court. So now I've done it, but now I'm saying, listen, I'm not working, I'm not sort of earning it. Why do I have to? Why do I have to? If the money is coming in, our work should be done to the glory of God. If the work is changing my baby's poopy diapers, and they're equally important. So we don't sow that we may reap. We simply sow because we have seeds in our hands. That's the difference. Because that's not a point that came out on any of the other tapes. The warrior's job is to make sure that you don't leak energy in your life. If you leak energy in your life, your money will leak. What happened with me is that suddenly, I've always had the philosophy that if somebody has a need in front of me, I just give. Because I'm real good at manifesting, so I'll just walk down the road and manifest more grocery money. And I'll just give my grocery money. So sometimes I've been someplace and somebody's come in, she's waited for 6 hours to see me, and then she comes in, she said, I can't pay my bills. I said, how much is your bill? So she says, 1,200, if I can pay that one off, I can pay. So I said, you know what? Here's my grocery money. Just allow me $20 to get home. Here's my grocery money. Go pay your bills, now send in the next person. I've been doing this. I've been throwing money to solve things. That's not okay either. And so recently, oh my gosh, all these crises came out. I had a family member that ended up homeless, overseas, homeless. And finally, I didn't have money. I thought, wait, what's going on here? This has never happened before. I can give as much as I want. I always manifest it. How come 2/3 of the month have gone by and I'm out of money? And this has happened 2 months in a row. Then I figured out that I was leaking energy in other areas of my life, and that I was now at the point where I had to acknowledge their divine mission of co-creating the mystery over here in the West. It was time for me to stop seeing them as victims. Christ did not go around throwing money at people, but he did make breads and fishes. And I tell you, what happens in my wallet is breads and fishes. It just keeps coming. But suddenly it didn't, because there was a lesson for me. There was something there I had to learn. And so the warrior has to make sure that our use of universal energy is frugal and abundant, meaning that we guard it, we don't leak it out. Last law of abundance is gratitude. Okay, gratitude is it's expansive in its geometry. Gratitude makes your world bigger. It makes your money more. It makes money more. It makes your world bigger. It makes fuller. It causes abundance. Gratitude is an expansive attitude. Watch in your life, my brothers and sisters, for the things that make you contract. Watch in your life what makes you contract. If something makes you contract, you have to ask, If you have you fully gathered its power? Have you treated it with those guidelines and made a strategy? If you have already done it, it's stuck, get rid of it. If you haven't, you must do it to be able to be set free. Because now it's a challenge. But challenges will make you, if you haven't dealt with them, they'll make you feel as though you are contracting. Now, gratitude, therefore, is the other law of abundance. It increases 100 times each thing from the heart that you're grateful for.
Back in studio, and I must say, whoa, a lot. Almeen talks about the proverbial 2x4 plank smacking you on the forehead, and as I'm listening to all of this, points that she says, a no resentment attitude is very important, that we should not be leaking energy in our life, that gratitude makes our world bigger because it's an expansive attitude. She says the warrior has to make sure that we are using the universal resources frugally and abundantly, and then also watch what makes us contract. On my phone, as we are listening to all of this, I'm in communication with a few people, and at the same time, and we are sharing the most amazing insights, and it's like, wow, listen to all of this particular thing. A great reminder tonight for us to look at all of that as we listened to the Sia Almeen there talk about the journey to the heart of God, living in the state of abundance. So a nice long track for us to get into there and begin to work with. Well, we're coming towards the end of our show already. I can't believe how quickly our time goes together, but I wanted to share the prediction for this week that's come out here. And this is really the prediction that's come, from Ella in Russia. Thank you very much, Ella, for giving us all of these every single week. They are just such a divine bonus that comes up, and I literally can't wait for it. I print it out myself. I put it up next to my desk and on my PC, and I read it consistently and just follow through that. And coupled with the cosmic mantra of the day, it's something I cannot wait to actually get and read. So thank you to everybody who posts that. But let's listen to the prediction for the week, because this comes out every single week, spot on in time for us on a Monday evening or a Tuesday, as it gets posted by Ella and the Russian Light family. And I just look ahead at the week and I go, I cannot believe the synchronicity of experiences. And I just sit back and watch it all flow and all go by. And it is great support for all of us to work with. So let's work with this for the next few minutes before we sign out. But here the prediction for this week of April the 24th through 30th, 2017. Allow relentless optimism to fully express in your awareness. Be a complete optimist. The impetus of passion is an important key to effective manifestation. Find passion in everything you do, in every moment. The basic law of existence that must be considered when making a decision is that all must benefit equally from the outcome. At times this may mean severing a relationship so all may grow. Follow the laws of existence. Your destiny and the pattern of life ahead of you are about to change. Be prepared for what you desire. Focus your attention on what is uplifting, because you choose your reality through emphasis. Remove the judgments of opposites of mind, of heart and spirit. Allow yourself to balance these components. Express flexibility in all situations that unfold in your reality. Set fluid parameters of the self-made boundaries of expression. And that's this week's beautiful rune prediction for this coming week. I hope that our show has given you some insight, has allowed you to sit there and understand that it is passion that manifests. And I do trust that you have enjoyed what we have shared with you, and that it is all in terms of synchronized processes. Remember that we are working along with each one of you, and that the radio show, Radio Belvaspata South Africa, each Thursday at 8 p.m. South African Standard Time, is really a time for us all to commit to be together and to share in oneness the teachings of the Sia Almeen, but also what is unfolding within each one of us as we're going along. Thank you to everyone for the insights, and I'd like to say thank you to Nico for handling our sound desk tonight. We are now going to play out with some beautiful music. One of it is his songs that was inspired by some of the teachings of the Sia Almin called My Dream of Man. Then we are going to listen to The Inner Warrior's Heart by Exquisite Divine Beauty. That is Vanessa Power in Ireland. And then we are going to close off the show. And this is some time for us to sit quietly, listen to some stunning music, and just be together in oneness and silence. Close your eyes if you are listening live. If you're driving and listening to this as a download from the podcast, don't close your eyes, but do enjoy. And we'd say thank you very much, everyone in South Africa. If you're having a long weekend, we'll see you next week, but please take care, get some rest, and just be gentle with yourself and with everyone else around us. Remember to express flexibility in all situations that unfold in your reality. This is Team Bell Vaspata South Africa saying goodbye from me, your host Paul. Until next week, love, praise, gratitude, surrender, trust, and good night.
A dream beyond tomorrow. I have a dream without the sorrow. I have a dream that no one understands. My dream of man. Love, I bring it into being, and hope with joy they'll sing. Bring faith to all of creation. My dream of man. Your heart will sing like a dove. Just come to me, my dream of man. I have a dream to build a nation. I have a dream, expanded vision, to bring the joy to those who hunger. My dream of man. Just close your eyes and feel the stillness. Make calm those of the wilderness. Bring love to all who listen. My dream of man. Bring to me your love. Your heart will sing like a dove. Just come to me, my dream of man. Bring to me your love. Your heart will sing like a dove. Just come to me, my dream of man. Just come to me, my dream of man.
You've been listening to Radio Balbasbata, South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Balbasbata or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@balbasbata.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.